Today I'm going to share with you the article Engaging Parents Through Better Communication Systems. Parents. Communication with parents is a vital part of education, but is it always done the best possible way? And what are some ways that we can improve communications to home? I like this quote from the author Matthew Kraft. While effective teachers and solid curricula are crucial, the role that parents play in shaping students' educational experiences and supporting their in-school successes cannot be overstated. This, to me, is a perfect reason why it is so important for teachers to have good communication with their parents at home. Our four sections we're going to look at are the assumptions, the thesis, application to practitioners, and our HCLE standards. Starting off with assumption. The assumption is positive communication with parents seems to result in greater student success. A quote from our text: when parents foster positive learning environments at home and are engaged in their students' schooling, kids have much better academic outcomes. The assumption is that the more positive communication with parents to update them on student achievement and to give them suggestions for improvement, this seemed to result in better academic success amongst their students, as was shown by the trials conducted by the author and his team. As a teacher thinking about communicating with my parents, I've noticed that my parents like to have that regular communication with me. They like to know what's coming, what's expected, what due dates are, when grades are going to be put in. They like to know ways to help their students improve. They want to know what things they're missing and what they can do to improve their grade. They want to know, since my child didn't do this assignment, can they still make it up, or are they going to lose points, or is that just a zero altogether? So having that communication with my parents, and also them just being able to ask me questions about assignments, or just even ask about how their child is doing in class. Sometimes it's because there's things going on at home that we don't know about, and the parent just kind of wants to check up on their student and see how they're doing, or just to let us know, hey, heads up, this has happened. Don't be surprised if my child does whatever. So as a teacher, I have seen how having this regular positive communication with my parents does help make sure that my students aren't falling through the cracks. Number 2, the thesis. If teachers do a better job communicating with parents, they'll see improvement in student success. Here are some studies that showed just this. The first one was conducted in a charter school, and it showed that frequent personalized phone calls home immediately increased student engagement in school. The second trial was during credit recovery over the summer. What the researchers did was they had teachers write a one-sentence statement that was positive to parents and sent it home to them, and they found that these brief weekly messages reduced the percentage of students who failed to earn course credit by 41%. They also suggested or referenced some other studies that had documented similarly positive results from extending parent meetings with school leaders and panel discussions featuring experienced parents. Application for practitioners, obstacles to communication and ideas to fix them. So I noticed that there were 3 obstacles that needed to be overcome. The first one was implementation barriers, and many times this is contact information. I know there's so many times where I need to call a parent or email a parent, and I go into the database that has this information, and when I try to text or call or email, it's not current or it's not correct. The second thing is the absence of school-wide communication policies. And then the third one is teachers' lack of non-instructional time. So some practical applications for schools. When it comes to contact information, schools need to have the most current contact information for parent communication to best take place and to be successful. Secondly, teacher expectations. Schools need to make clear expectations for the frequency of teachers contacting their parents. And finally, time. Schools need to find time to give teachers to make these communications happen. So what are some things that we can do? One thing is to set up regular, safe communication. And many times this is done through digital technology platforms such as Classroom Dojo, Remind, or even Edmodo. These types of technologies are usually easily accessible to most parents because we know most of our parents have cell phones, so they can download these mobile apps and have it right there at their fingertips. The nice thing about that too is that they are secure. They're within just that school or just that classroom, and it also promotes that feeling of safety as well. The second thing is teacher expectations. If schools are going to require that teachers make communications on a regular basis with their parents, they need to set clear expectations for that type of communication. How often? What do you want it to entail? What should it include? How many times a week? Does it need to be in person, over the phone, via email? Those types of things need to be set. And finally, time. There's 3 things that schools can do according to Kraft that can help with time. One thing would be relieving teachers of non-instructional responsibilities such as lunch duty, recess duty, study hall. Another thing is increasing the amount of non-instructional time in teachers' contractually obligated work days. So making sure that we have enough time to make these phone calls already worked into our contracts. And then lastly, providing a designated block of time each week for parent engagement efforts. Here's our standards, putting it all together. These are the standards that I looked at in particularly, and they had to do with fostering a culture that supports learning. Because part of our culture does include our parents. They are our support staff, and we need their help to support their students' learning. To start with, the first one, establish conditions that promote employees' and students' well-being. This is where teachers need that time to reach out to their parents during their busy school day. School leaders need to set those expectations and opportunities for this to take place regularly. The second one, maintain a safe and professional environment. And as I noted before, one way school districts are doing this is by using mobile apps to contact parents using secure and reliable platforms. And the third one, assess and address gaps between current and desired organizational culture. I felt like with this one, it is very important that schools best address the problem by creating and prioritizing systematic plans to improve outreach to parents. Schools really need to take time to think about how can we set this up for success? What are we doing right now that's not working, and what can we do to improve that and get our parents more involved in their students' learning? Overall, the main point of this was making communication with parents a priority, and it should be something that all schools work to improve. Thank you.